Jeff, good to see you again, man. Back again, and today we got another very timely and pertinent topic for any sales season, and it's all about referrals. Referrals. We know a warm, warmer lead than just smiling and dialing, cold calling, cold emailing. Referrals can be a very warm lead, and so they're very, very valuable. But there's an art to asking for the referral. How do you do it? When do you do it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to say about this one, but I would say I've maybe a bit of a hot take. I think that you can almost always ask for a referral. And I think that look, like the reality is that the worst thing that can happen is that the person will say no or they don't know anybody. In other words, the worst thing that can happen is that you will be in exactly the same spot as you were before. Now, there are some exceptions to that. I think that if you are in the middle of a sales process with somebody and you're asking them for a referral, that could come across as a little bit distracted or maybe, your intentions might be misread. But I do think that, even if you have not sold something to somebody and they have built a lot of trust with you, or even if they don't go forward with you, but they still have built a lot of trust with you, it never hurts to ask, hey, do you happen to know anybody with whom, for whom this would be a great fit, right? And I mean, look, the obvious answer is that when you set up a customer and they're very successful, you always want to be asking for referrals in that case. I think the way that you can do that, I mean, I've typically worked in startups, right? Smaller companies that are growing and that are looking for VC funding. And so the easy thing to say is like, look, like you're a client of ours, presumably you want us to keep growing because that's going to come back to you in a good way. If the more that we grow, the more that we can raise capital, the more we can put back into the product and our relationship. With that in mind, are there other folks that that would be a great fit for our tool? So I like to position these asks as ultimately good for the customer. But also, if they're happy with us, it makes them look good, right? If we can make the customer look good by helping them get in touch with a solution provider that their friend needs, then that's always a good thing. So my answer is that you can always be asking. In my current role, we sell to a lot of healthcare brokers who are then going directly to clients, and they're very warm on new ideas. But they also happen to know a lot of other brokers in the industry. So it's actually a lot earlier in the sales process that we can ask. We can even after an initial call say, hey, do you know other folks that are in this world that we're in that want to know about what we do? And if so, could you introduce us? And that's not really a weird thing to ask early in a conversation because the role of the persona that we sell to is literally to be knowledgeable about solutions like ours.
Yeah.
So typically, if they are making an introduction, it's helping them within that community. And it's not perceived as something that's strange or out of touch. So I think that, frankly, the answer is that it's probably more often than you think. It's more often than you think that you can be doing, as long as you frame it in a way that has to do with the benefit of the people that are involved and not making it strictly or purely about yourself. I think that it's oftentimes a really good idea. Carson, would love to hear your feedback on that and your thoughts.
Yeah, this is another one of those where Jeff, I mean, you knocked it out of the park. I think it's important to look at, sometimes why do we not ask for referrals? I think, sometimes we might feel like it's uncomfortable or, we're putting the person out, right, to ask. But what we have to realize is that, frankly, I think timing is everything, and to your point, it's all about kind of when we do ask. Ideally, we're asking somebody after something has gone well, right? So most likely, it's fertile ground for a referral, and the viability of them saying yes is higher. But the reason that this is so valuable, and you know me, I'm a big data-driven sales guy. Like I'm big on propensity to respond or to buy. And so when I think about that, the reason that referrals are so valuable is, let's be real, they move quicker. They are ideally coming from somebody that already trusts you. So they come from a place of trust. And so when a referral is made, the person you're being referred to likely trusts the person that referred you. And then, frankly, by proxy, you are inheriting some of that trust. And that's why this is so valuable. So these folks will conceivably convert quicker. And then furthermore, what are we ultimately looking to do as salespeople? We're looking to earn that right to be a trusted advisor. That's really the goal. Um, Sometimes we get lost in chasing widgets and metrics, and I think that's our biggest struggle. But the reality is we're looking to earn great relationships, and so the viability of earning a great relationship with somebody that is referred is super super important. And again, we're not looking to put the person out. You know I would say, like, if you're reaching out to somebody and wanting to have a conversation about a referral, saying like, hey, I feel really positive about our relationship and our interaction. And if it wouldn't be too much to ask, I'd love to get some other folks that maybe that, to your point, Jeff, would be a good fit for what we do. Um, I always greatly value referrals. And furthermore, I'd love to return the favor in any way, shape, or form. You never know where these folks are going to go or where they've come from. And so, frankly, they may have zero qualms about saying, actually, I came from an organization that had the same problem. I've worked with executives before that have said, man, I really wish I had the budget to do something here, maintained, invested in the relationship, and then they went to another organization and we ended up making sweet music together, right? So my point in saying that is you don't know where they may have been or where they may go. And so even the worst case scenario, to your point, Jeff, is you're right where you were. But the best case scenario is you get a scalding hot Glengarry lead. I mean, how much time do we spend prospecting and crafting messages to people, or dialing the phone and getting zero response? I mean, I worked in a call center once where leads we were given had like a 0.01% close rate. So, to think about the viability of getting somebody that might be a perfect fit, what we seek to do so often in our role as sellers is be a storyteller, tell stories about how we were successful with an organization or even with a person. So imagine talking to someone who might be like-minded or in a similar situation, who already is known and liked and trusted by this person you're already doing business with. Talking to somebody that might look similar is going to give you a much smoother path. So it's worth it. The greatest successes sometimes come from getting outside of our comfort zone. It's uncomfortable for a reason. It's sometimes new muscle, but we don't talk about it enough and we don't do it enough. And it's very easy to ask somebody, hey, I'm always looking to support people that are in similar situations or roles. Clearly, our relationship has been beneficial for both of us. Do you know of anybody else that's in your network who might benefit from just having a conversation with me? And
Yeah,
go from there.
love it. I love the Glengarry reference too. That was my favorite part of that. The
I
Glengarry.
The other day I was on YouTube and I was just watching some old sales speeches to just kind of get me fired up, and that's one of them. Some other great ones, the one from Boiler Room, and then Wolf of Wall Street. Not that I sell like that or condone those practices, but anytime I watch those, or especially Wall Street, I get fired up.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I love that we see eye to eye on this one. We should be asking for these more often than we are today. I think that's something that everyone should be taking away and getting out there and doing more of.
We usually do. I think we've done this for 4 years, and my gosh, Jeff, I don't know if we've ever disagreed. We're gonna have to find a topic that we disagree on one of these days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see someday.
Good stuff. Thank you as always, and hope you and everyone watching has a wonderful weekend.